everyone, welcome to this episode of Yoga Talks. Today we are going to watch a TED Talk by Kelly McGonigal. She's a health psychologist, and she's got a talk about how to make stress your friend. This was a particularly interesting talk for me to run across. It was recorded back in 2013. And I'm going to let you watch the video on your own. There's a link below on the Patreon page, so you get to watch it, and then we're going to talk about it. But one of the things that I really liked about this was she tells how she's been telling her patients for years and years and years, stress is going to kill you, essentially. I'm paraphrasing. But then she did some research and followed some studies that shows that your perception of what stress does to you has more of an impact on what stress actually does to you. So your thoughts, your perception, your belief has an impact. So I'll let you watch it. I really hope you enjoy it. And then we're going to talk about this, and we're going to talk about how this is yoga related. All right? Great. Enjoy the video. Okay. Well, first of all, I hope that you watched the last 45, 50 seconds of that, because that's where I think the whole thing is wrapped up when the moderator, I can't think of his name, asked her about getting a stressful job. I think the way that she summed it up, saying if you go after meaning, if you chase meaning as opposed to avoiding discomfort, that's the key. And that his point, or his question, that it seems amazing that your simple belief that stress can be good for you versus can be bad for you, that your belief makes the difference. And for me, that's not surprising. I've not only do I believe in everything, but I absolutely believe that the power of belief is stronger than a lot of people give it credit. Keeping a positive attitude, a positive outlook, seeking goodness, and avoiding negativity, avoiding negative people. The idea in yoga of ahimsa, non-violence, not only avoiding violent physical actions, but avoiding negative thoughts or violent thoughts about somebody else or about yourself. And it's not just, in my opinion, it's not just the idea of choosing to be a good person, but truly the idea that compassion is good for you. And there are, look up all the TED Talks about compassion. Look up studies about compassion and what it does for you. It falls right in line with this TED Talk from Kelly, that your biology changes and is affected by your beliefs. And so I think that a lot of times, here in the yoga community, or it seems new age to talk about keeping a positive attitude, almost as if that's ignorant or naive. And I don't think so. I don't think that having a positive outlook or a positive belief is being naive. Primarily because, first of all, you're not denying that the negative thing exists. For example, her talking about financial problems or a death in the family or some sort of stressor. It's not a denial that the negative thing happened. It's not a denial that the stressor happened or exists. It's the way that you react to it. It's your response to it. And getting a little bit of meta about it, it's your response to the response in what she's talking about. So, you know, if your response is stress, feeling stress, or let's pick out some physical things about stress. So sweating, or hands shaking, or your heart pounding, or butterflies in your stomach. Your reaction to those reactions either amplifies it, or you use that as a strength going in. So, for example, let's just take something simple, like going to speak in front of a crowd, right? And if you're not comfortable with that kind of a thing, that can be a stressor. So, recognizing that, you know, I sweat like crazy, and not only do I sweat, but I also do not use antiperspirant. I use deodorant, but I avoid using an antiperspirant because it has aluminum, and I don't want that in my person for health reasons. So I sweat. And so what I like to do, or what I try to do, is, number one, I'm open about it, and I try not to be embarrassed about it. It's taken a long time, and I let people know. I sort of joke about it. You know, I think that for example, growing up, just the other day, Erin, we were sitting there, and Erin was reading Reddit, and there was a question on Reddit. What were you worried about when you were 11? And for me, what I was worried about at age 11, so that was about 5th grade for me, and my biggest stress, if I remember correctly, was that I sweat like crazy. And I went to Catholic school, and so I wore the Oxford shirts that were unforgiving with sweat, excuse me. And so I was on the search constantly for a deodorant or an antiperspirant that would work, and I ended up using like a prescription version of Mitchum that basically just stopped everything. And it was the same deodorant that my mom used, because she sweat like crazy as well. And she even told me that when she was younger, she put shoulder pads in her armpits. And so I did that. And so I was wearing shoulder pads in my armpits to avoid sweat stains or to show sweat. So that was a huge stressor for me. And it was sort of fueled by commercials, you know, like Never Let Them See You Sweat, or like the Arid Extra Dry commercials or whatever, where somebody's like hailing a cab and it would show this big old sweaty pit. And so the commercials, like, and I remember all these commercials because that was my greatest fear, is people seeing me sweat. So anyway, and now that practically what I do for a living is sweat. So, you know, it's kind of interesting that that's something that I've embraced. So, you know, the other idea about, let's just keep on going with this sweat thing, it's just my body helping to regulate being in a stressful situation. My body warms up. Maybe I've worn too many clothes. Maybe the lights are hot. Embarrassment, flushing, my body's hot. And so it's trying to cool me off. And so just recognizing that, it would be a whole lot better for me to be sweaty than to actually overheat and pass out in front of all of the people that I'm making a speech in front of, right? So changing your reaction, your perspective on the stressful situation, the stressful person, is extremely important. And that's kind of why I wanted to bring this up. I feel like right now, so it's, the date today is November 8th, 2018, 2 days after our midterm elections, and the regardless of your political affiliation, we know that our country, the United States, I don't know who's watching from where, I mean the world, we're divided. We're divided on things that are, to me, fundamental. These things are just, these things that the world seems divided on, these things are common sense to me. And so, I mean, I would say at the risk of losing people or their opinion of me, honestly, I really don't care if people stop watching or unfriend me or whatever. I don't see any difference in somebody who has darker skin. We're all equal. I don't want to say I don't care about your religion, but have a wonderful religion. That's nice. You know, I don't care who you sleep with. It doesn't affect me. Other than, I hope you're happy. That's all I want for anybody. You know, women's rights, all of these things. Immigration, allowing people to avoid suffering. I mean, we all want to be happy. And so these things that divide our country, and I'll speak for the United States, this stuff, it crushes my soul. And if I let all of this stuff and these hateful words and these people that say these hateful things and the news that just keeps, I mean, even like my favorite comedy shows, I watch Stephen Colbert. I can't even stand hearing the repetition and the people saying these things, even when I know there's a joke at the end. Because I feel it in my body. And the problem is that I'm letting it get inside. I'm literally letting it get into my skin. And so for any of you who know me, one of the reasons why I quit my last job was because the stress was so palpable. My skin hurt, my body hurt, to the point where it hurt to walk on grass. It hurt, like if, right, my hands are cold, so with cold hands, touching my own skin hurt. Kind of like when you have the flu. But I felt that all the time. It was inflammation caused by probably a poor diet, but also stress. But that's because I allowed that to happen. So I can't stop people from saying harmful, hurtful things. I can take actions, I can vote, I can avoid being around these kinds of people, I can make decisions that, or help people, or promote people, or donate, or, you know, give to a cause, or do something. But at the end of the day, it's truly my reaction and the way that I absorb or don't absorb these stressors, these negative things. That's what's going to keep me and my body from taking all this in, right? And truly what we know, from a yoga standpoint, from, I don't know, any kind of standpoint, I don't know, why do we need to label it? When you take care of yourself first, then you're filling yourself up, you're making yourself stronger, and then that allows you to help other people. Just like the same concept of when you show compassion for others, and we talked about this, I think it was last year, we had a learner series session on compassion. When you are compassionate to another being, and she even talked about this, you gain from that. Your body, your physiology changes. It helps boost your immune system. It releases oxytocin. These things help heal you and make you stronger and healthier and boost your well-being and your happiness. So just simply being a good human, being a good being, and showing compassion for others yes, it helps that person or that group or that country, but it also helps you. Compassion's, I was going to say it's a two-way street. You don't even have to get anything back directly from that person. You don't need to. In Buddhism, the idea is that all of life is suffering. And we are trying to end suffering, avoid suffering. But that isn't just about removing the thing that causes suffering, necessarily. Many times you can't get rid of the thing. You work on your response to the thing that's causing suffering. If it needs to be gotten rid of, then that's one thing. But if it can't be gotten rid of, then you change the way that you react to it. And again, changing your reaction, changing the way that you think about something doesn't mean that you just roll over and show your belly. It doesn't mean that you become a doormat. It doesn't mean that you're continuing to let something negative happen to you and not actually do something active to stop it. But while you're trying to have an impact on your own life, you have an impact on your own belief, perception, response. The idea of suffering. So I'm sort of taking what Kelly McGonigal talked about and I'm sort of drawing it out a little bit to sort of connect it to a yoga concept. So I already mentioned ahimsa, which is nonviolence, physical, mental, emotional. We frequently cause our own suffering. We cause our own stress. That's why I meditate. First thing in the morning, my negative thoughts are going and going and going, telling me all of the things that I didn't do or I need to do, or I'm probably not going to do very well anyway, or I probably screwed that thing up, or, all of these thoughts and thoughts and thoughts. And I can start to feel that in my body. And I've just lost sleep, because usually I'm waking up at 3:30, and then my mind is like, oh, she's awake. And so when that starts to happen, that's when I practice meditation. And my meditation is a form of ahimsa for me, nonviolence, in thinking, allowing those thoughts to soften. I do still have things to do today. Maybe I did mess something up. But I don't have to start attacking myself. I don't have to say negative things. The fact that something was done incorrectly or the fact that I had a meeting doesn't mean that that there's any reason for a negative response to that. The other idea that I wanted to bring up was the concept of santosha, which is contentment. So in Buddhism, talking about, and not that I'm trying to make everybody Buddhist, but I'm just connecting philosophies here. In Buddhism, the idea that all of life is suffering, one aspect of dealing with that is practicing contentment in being content with what you have. Because frequently suffering is caused by our desire for it to be something else, whatever it is. It can be something simple. I wish I was wearing different clothes. Or I wish that I lived in a better house. Or I wish that I was able to travel more. Wish that I was skinnier. I mean, all of these things. Wish that I had more things. Wish that I made more money. These things that maybe can never happen because my body type is one way. I'm literally never going to look like Uma Thurman. I don't know, she was the first one that came up in my head. I don't necessarily want to look like Uma Thurman. I'm 5'4", it's not possible. But, you know, it's going to cause me great suffering if I'm constantly dissatisfied with the things in my life, with the things that are around me, with the things that I do have, with the people that are in my life. And so it's a matter of switching my belief and saying that, you know, what I have is okay, it's sufficient. I have everything I need. So this is all very well and good for me to say this because I'm not in a harmful situation. I have, you know, a very safe and loving relationship with Aaron. There's no abuse. God even cooks for me, so I'm not going to fight that. You know, I have a job. A job. I'm self-employed. I mean, I have income. Let me put it that way. You know, the studio is just getting up and running in this new space. Gotta let it happen. Gotta let it do its thing. I have what I need. I have food. My cats are fed and they're healthy. I can afford to take them to the vet when I need to. No, we can't afford to go on vacations all the time. Yes, I would love to. It's just not a thing. And if I keep trying for it to be a thing, then I'm gonna be so sad and dissatisfied, and that's gonna cause me to suffer. And then I'm gonna feel the stress response in my body. So you see how all of these things are sort of like folding in on themselves. So then another idea that I wanted to sort of connect with this was the idea of stress and challenge and discomfort. Taking what Kelly McGonigal said and just drawing it out a little bit more. So stress is a natural thing. Our body responds to stress in natural ways. The way that we respond to those things is, you know, either beneficial or not. So when it comes to a yoga practice, either the asana practice, well, any part of it, you may seek out the easy way, where you have no discomfort, where you are not challenging yourself, where maybe, let's take an asana practice, where you're not engaging your muscles in poses, where you're just allowing yourself to sort of rest in the pose, but maybe the pose is intended for you to have some engagement. Let's take Warrior Two pose, for example. Virabhadrasana 2. You know, you've got your knee bent at a 90-degree angle, perhaps. And to ease up, you reduce that angle, or actually you make that angle a little bit more. You know, so you straighten your leg a little bit. So you're removing discomfort when in fact you could be strengthening your muscles. You avoid doing a pose because you're afraid of it. There's some legitimate fear in certain poses, like a handstand, an inversion, back bends. Everything can hurt you, but you must practice the form and the alignment, and you grow stronger by practicing other things in order to get yourself into these poses. You do warm up your body, not too warm because then that can actually injure you, but following a proper set of sequences and poses, then you can work yourself up into something that may be challenging. And just because you have some fear doesn't mean that you shouldn't do it. Try it. Try it making sure that somebody is there spotting you and supporting you, and a teacher is telling you, okay, these are the baby steps that you use in order to get into the pose. Face your fears. Sit with the discomfort. Recognize whether or not what you're feeling is pain, is injurious pain, because pain is just a communication device. Discomfort is just telling you, we haven't done this for a while. Or discomfort is, let's say, in a conversation with somebody that you disagree with. I'm sort of hopping out of asana, as you can see. But putting yourself into a stressful, uncomfortable, challenging situation, that makes you stronger. Avoiding a stressful situation, avoiding a challenging situation, avoiding discomfort, that's taking the easy route. That doesn't make you stronger. And it doesn't allow you, so let's take the idea of talking to a challenging person. It doesn't give you the opportunity to see something from their point of view. You may never agree with them, but you must give the opportunity to have that discussion. That's one of the things, I am going way off from asana right now, but that's one of the things that I think we're greatly lacking these days. I don't know when it happened. I don't know when it started to happen that we stopped having challenging conversations where all of a sudden we can't talk about religion, that we can't talk about politics, that we can't talk about uncomfortable things. Because if we don't talk about them, then they just keep pushing us apart and apart and apart because we don't know each other's stance on things. I may have a very good reason why I believe in, I don't know, pro-choice. You know, that doesn't make me pro-abortion. It means I want people to have the right to do what they want with their bodies. That's all. There may be somebody who is pro-life and they have a very good reason for it, and that doesn't mean that we have to hate each other. We have two opinions. You know, maybe that woman had a very bad experience or a very wonderful experience, and this is why she believes that. That's fine. I have many friends who are of different faiths, different belief systems. That's fine. We don't need to agree. It makes for a much more interesting conversation when we don't agree. And it takes practice and discourse in order to have those challenging conversations. And it's that same kind of thing that you have with yourself. You have that challenging position, pose, asana. You practice challenging breathing exercises, pranayama. You practice challenging meditation, and if you're a beginner of it, almost all meditation is challenging. And you don't avoid it just because it's challenging. You practice it. You keep practicing. So that maybe after a couple of minutes of meditating, maybe you start to feel like, oh, okay, I get it. Because sometimes the answer, the ease of it, the purpose of it, the feeling of it, whatever, it doesn't happen right away. You have to sit with it. You get to understand it the longer that you're with it. Like a challenging person, like a challenging idea, like a challenging pose, meditation, breathing exercise. So you don't avoid it. Stress is all around us. We can't avoid it. And I think that especially now, it's important to recognize those things that are stressors to you personally. It could be different for each person. And sit with those things. Maybe journal, maybe talk to yourself in a camera like I do. This is very therapeutic for me. Talk to yourself in the shower, whatever, go on a walk, meditate. Think about those things that you consider stressful. Notice the way that it affects your body and your mind and your thoughts. Notice if your boss at work makes you ball up your hands and your shoulders get tight and you feel yourself getting, and your teeth clench. Just notice it. Don't judge yourself. Just notice it. My body is doing this. My brain went in a zillion directions. Because anger as a follow-up to a challenging situation, hatred as a follow-up to a challenging situation, never solves anything. So just notice and see if in that noticing you can soften a little bit. Soften your response. Soften your response to that person, to that situation, to yourself, and recognize that maybe somebody else is having a bad day too. Maybe don't take it personally, because maybe it's not about you. And work on your response to something and see how that affects you from the inside out. Other people may start to notice that as well, hopefully for the positive. So I hope you enjoyed this. If you have any comments, I would love to hear them. Email me, put them in the comments below. If you did like this, please click like or subscribe. And do hop over to my Patreon page, patreon.com/yoga happiness. Those people that are patrons that support this, they get free streaming of my morning yoga classes, AM yoga, Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. And coming up in December, I'm actually going to be changing my Patreon site to be a monthly charge. And I'll be locking down some things so that they are patron only. And patrons are going to get different, better rewards. And I'm going to be offering more content because I want to. So there it is. And actually my choice to change is releasing some stress for me. So it's freeing me up to do this how I want to. So have a wonderful rest of your day. Have a wonderful week, and I'll talk to you next time. Bye.